The SOS across the stars, the galaxy was never silent. Ships crossed the black void, traders moved between worlds, and armies patrolled their borders. But on that day, a signal rose above all voices, a desperate cry for help. The Empire of Kor had invaded the world of Rinner. They were known for cruelty, for taking slaves, for burning entire colonies to dust. The people of Rinner had no fleet strong enough to resist. Their defenses broke in a single night dot in the Central Council Hall. Alien leaders gathered in panic. The air was heavy with fear. The red skies outside were already filled with the smoke of burning cities. Children cried in the streets as enemy warships hovered above. "We cannot stop them," whispered one elder. "Our warriors are dead. Our shields are broken. There is only one choice left." The council fell into silence. Everyone knew what he meant. The last choice was dangerous. The last choice was madness. "Send the SOS," another voice said at last. "Send it to the Deathworlders." A shiver ran through the chamber. Even speaking that word was enough to make hearts race. The Deathworlders. Humanity. The species from a world so hostile, so violent, that no other empire had dared to colonize it. A world of ice and fire, storms and predators, where survival meant becoming stronger than anything else alive. Most aliens avoided humans. They whispered stories of battles where humans fought long after wounds should have killed them. They spoke of human fleets that had once clashed with galactic powers and left only wreckage behind. And now, Rinner had no choice but to call them. A technician's trembling hands typed the final code. The SOS would travel across the stars, an open call on all channels. It was simple, only 3 lines. "This is Rinner. We are under attack. Deathworlders, if you hear us, help us." The signal vanished into the void. For a long moment, nothing happened. The council waited. The city outside burned brighter. Some leaders wept. "They will not come," one said. "Why would humans fight for us? We are nothing to them." Another spat back. "Better to die calling for monsters than to die begging for mercy from the Empire." On the battlefield, Rinner's last fighters launched into the skies. They were old ships, patched together, barely armed. Against the Empire's destroyers, they were sparks thrown against a storm. One by one, they fell in fire dot in the streets. Families crowded into shelters. Mothers clutched their children. Fathers gripped broken weapons. Everyone whispered the same prayer. "May the Deathworlders hear us." Far away, beyond the reach of Rinner's eyes, a signal moved across space. Past nebula clouds, past trading lanes, past the edges of forgotten wars. And then, it reached Earth. Deep beneath the Atlantic, in a bunker filled with blinking screens, a human officer raised his head. The SOS repeated in cold alien words. The officer's hands froze. His eyes widened. "Sir," he whispered into his com, "we just received a Deathworld-class distress call. It's asking for us." Within hours, the message spread across the human network. Admirals, soldiers, and even old veterans watched the same 3 lines of text. None spoke. They only felt the same pull inside their chest. Humanity had been quiet for years. They had not joined the Galactic Council. They had not fought in foreign wars. But now, someone had dared to send them an SOS dot, and humanity remembered. On Rinner, the night grew darker. The Empire's soldiers marched through burning ruins. The people felt despair claw at their hearts. The SOS had been sent, but no answer had come, until one child, standing in the rubble of her home, pointed to the sky. "Look," she cried. "The stars, they're moving." The elders turned their gaze upward. At first, they thought it was smoke, or maybe new enemy ships. But then they saw it clearly. Dark shapes. Enormous. Silent. slowly appearing above the edge of the system. Not one, not two, dozens. A fleet. The council chamber shook with a single shout as the scanners confirmed the impossible. Deathworlder. Signatures. It's the humans. The skies above Rinner filled with shadow. Human warships, black and unmarked, emerged like predators from the void. Each one was larger than the Empire's destroyers. Each one carried weapons that glowed with cold fire. The people of Rinner gasped in awe and terror. Their SOS had been answered, that the humans had come. Asterisk whispers of the Deathworlders. Galaxy always watched Earth with fear, but now the whispers grew. Louder. When the SOS from Rinner was answered, dozens of human ships emerged from the void. They did not announce themselves with words, nor with greetings. They came in silence, like predators circling their prey. Every sensor in nearby systems lit up. Traders stopped their runs. Smugglers cut their engines. Even pirate lords abandoned their stations to hide in the shadows. For the first time in years, the galaxy trembled not at the empire of Core, but at the Deathworlders. In the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Delegates shouted across the great chamber, voices overlapping. In fear and anger, they cannot be allowed to interfere. Barked a scaled ambassador. Humanity brings only destruction. Another shouted back, would you rather the Core Empire continue their slaughter? Better Deathworlders than slavers? Old memories haunted them all. They remembered the human. Frontier wars, the time when Earth had risen against 3 empires at once and somehow survived. They remembered soldiers who refused to surrender, even when outnumbered 100 to 1. They remembered black steel warships that fought until their cores burned out, taking enemies with them into the void. And yet, humans had been silent. For decades. They had turned inward, building their fleets, but refusing to join councils or alliances. The galaxy had grown comfortable with their silence. Now, that silence was broken. On Rinner, the people watched in disbelief as the human fleet formed above their skies. Huge carriers eclipsed the suns. Frigates and destroyers took positions like hunters tightening a noose. For a moment, the Empire's warships hesitated. They had faced many enemies before rebels, mercenaries, even rival empires. But never humans. Corps Commander sneered on the bridge of his flagship. They are only a myth, he growled. Stories told to frighten children. Fire on them. The first blasts from the Empire's guns tore through the sky. Blue plasma lanced upward. Explosions cracked the night, but the human ships did not move. They absorbed the storm in silence. Their shields rippled with cold light, like a beast shaking off rain. Then, with terrifying precision, the humans answered. A single railgun fired. One. Just one. The shot tore through the core flagship as if it were made of glass. The mighty destroyer split in two, its core exploding in a ball of fire that lit the skies of Rinner. The people of Rinner screamed, not in fear, but in joy. The Empire's unstoppable ship had been ended with one strike. The whispers grew. Louder, the Deathworlders are here. The Deathworlders are wheeled out in a small shelter beneath the ruins. A young Rinorian boy asked his mother, will they save us? The mother's eyes were wide, unsure. They will fight, she said softly. But saving, humans do not fight for free. And this was the truth that every alien knew. Humans were not saints. They were not gods. They were survivors. When they fought to win, but always for a reason. What reason had brought them here? Far above, inside the human flagship Iron Will, Admiral Cade stood at the command deck. His eyes scanned the burning planet below, then the enemy fleet crumbling before them. Broadcast to all ships, he ordered. His voice was calm, steady, deadly. Engage targets. Do not leave survivors. Rinner called for help. We answer with fire. Around him, officers nodded without hesitation. Humanity's answer was not peace talks. It was war. The council chambers across the galaxy received the same transmission seconds later. No diplomacy, no politics. Just 5 words repeated in human tongue. We have heard the SOS. And suddenly, every empire remembered why they had once feared Earth. On Rinner, cheers echoed through the broken streets as human fighters rained from the sky like steel hawks. They struck at the core soldiers with brutal efficiency. Tanks shattered, cannons melted, fortresses burned. The Empire's invasion, which had seemed unstoppable, began to collapse in hours. But in the shadows of joy, fear still lingered. A Renorian elder whispered to another, "What happens when the core are gone? Will the Deathworlders leave, or will they stay?" No one could answer, because the truth was simple. Once humans came, nothing remained the same. The whispers carried across the galaxy like fire on dry grass. The Deathworlders have returned. Their fleet blocks out the stars. They fight without mercy. And somewhere, in dark halls of power, other empires began to tremble. If humans answered one SOS, what would stop them from answering another? Or worse, what if one day it was humanity that sent an SOS? The first shadows appeared the first night after the SOS was answered. Rinner did not sleep. The skies above the planet burned with broken wreckage. Core ships, once proud and feared, now drifted as shattered hulks. The ground shook as human bombardments silenced enemy strongholds one by one. Yet even as the Renorian people cheered, a strange silence spread among their leaders. Because while the core empire was terrifying, the humans were something else entirely. They were shadows. No message of peace came from the human fleet. No offer of alliance, not even a demand. They spoke only with their weapons, and their weapons spoke louder than anything the galaxy had ever heard. In the high towers of the Galactic Council, the debate raged on. "The humans cannot be allowed to rise again," one ambassador said. His scaled hands trembled as he gripped the edge of his podium. "If they unleash their fleet, no empire will be safe." "They already have," another replied coldly. "The shadows have appeared, and they will not stop until the core are dust." Every delegate fell silent as a new feed appeared on their holoscreens. Images from the Rinner system. Dozens of human warships floated like black giants in the void. Their hulls carried no banners, no emblems, only cold steel. Some ships were so massive they blotted out entire starfields. And when they moved, they did so without sound. Silent, patient, like predators watching their prey. On Rinner itself, the people looked up at those shapes with awe. To them, the humans were saviors, warriors sent by fate itself. But to the surviving core soldiers, the sight was terror. From the ruins of their bases, they watched as human dropships descended with eerie precision. Soldiers in black armor moved through the smoke, faceless behind mirrored visors. They did not shout, they did not roar. They simply advanced, step by step, unstoppable. One core captain tried to rally his men. "They bleed like us," he shouted. "They can be killed." But when his squad opened fire, the humans did not fall. Shields flickered, armor absorbed the blasts, and return fire cut down the core in seconds. The captain's last sight was a human soldier standing over him, visor reflecting his own fear. The soldier said nothing, only raised his rifle, ending him without hesitation. The shadows had arrived. Above. In the command deck of the Iron Will, Admiral Cade studied the enemy positions. His eyes were hard, his face carved by years of war. "Status of the system?" he asked. "Rinner cities secured." "Admiral," replied an officer, "the core fleet is broken. Survivors are retreating to the outer belt." Cade gave a slow nod. "Then we hunt them. No survivors." The order carried through the fleet like cold lightning. Human ships began to move, engines glowing faintly in the dark, not charging, not rushing, hunting down every alien watching the feeds. Across the galaxy felt a shiver, because humans did not fight like other species. They did not fight for glory. They did not fight for conquest. They fought to end the enemy. In the streets of Rinner's capital, refugees gathered on rooftops. Children pointed at the sky, where massive silhouettes drifted silently above. Why are they so quiet? One asked. His grandfather answered in a low, fearful voice. Because Deathworlders never waste words. They only act. The child's eyes widened. Does that mean they'll save us? The grandfather hesitated. Then, with a slow shake of his head, they will save the world. But whether they save us, that is another question. The first whispers became prophecy as reports spread. Human fleets moving through the asteroid belt, cutting down core survivors. Human soldiers dismantling enemy fortresses in hours. Human carriers releasing waves of drones that circled the Sur. Skies like metal birds. Everywhere the shadows appeared. The galaxy watched with dread and fascination. The core empire had been powerful, arrogant, unstoppable. But in only a single day, humanity had shown the galaxy what true power looked like. And still, no one knew why they had answered the SOS. On Rinner, in a broken temple lit by firelight, a group of elders prayed. One elder raised his voice, trembling. The shadows of Earth have come. They walk among us now. May they fight for us, and not against us. But another elder whispered back, voice heavy with fear. The shadows do not serve anyone. They are their own masters. And once they finish with the core, who will they turn to next? High above, the human fleet shifted once more. Massive carriers moved into formation. New signatures appeared at the system's edge reinforcements. Even more ships. The first shadows had appeared, and the galaxy would never look the same again. Asterisk. The human war fleet unleashed. The moment finally came when silence ended. For 2 long days, the human fleet had lingered in the skies above Rinner. The galaxy watched through hidden feeds, waiting for answers. Some thought the humans would leave after breaking the core blockade. Others prayed they would stay as protectors. But Admiral Cade had no interest in waiting. On the 3rd day, his command rang out across the void. Unleash the fleet. And the galaxy saw what it meant when Deathworlders went to war. Above Rinner, human carriers opened their vast hangars. Thousands of fighters swarmed into the void like steel locusts, their engines glowing white. Drone clouds followed, weaving patterns no alien computers could track. The empire of Core, still arrogant even in retreat, scrambled their reinforcements. Dozens of destroyers, battlecruisers, and heavy carriers dropped into the system, their commanders snarling with overconfidence. Do not fear them, the Core Admiral shouted across his fleet. They are only one species. Crush them, and there. Legend ends here. But legends do not end so easily. The first volley from the humans turned the void into fire. Railgun slugs cut through enemy shields like paper, each impact blooming into deadly suns. Plasma lances from core warships struck. Back, but the human shields held, pulsing with cold blue light. Then the fighters struck. They did not charge in messy waves like other species. They moved in perfect silence, squadrons weaving through enemy formations, cutting apart engines, shredding defenses. The drones followed, small and countless, swarming over enemy hulls, drilling into metal, and leaving fire behind. The core screamed in panic. Their ships twisted, fled, collided with each other in desperation. And through it all, the human fleet advanced, step by step, as if nothing could slow it. On Rinner's surface, every citizen gathered outside, staring up at the night sky. What? they saw was both terrifying and beautiful, an endless storm of fire streaking across the heavens. Children clapped, cheering each time an enemy ship burst into flame, but the elders only bowed their heads. They knew the truth. This was not a war. This was a purge. One whispered, "This is why they call them Deathworlders. They do not fight to win. They fight to end." Inside the flagship Iron Will, Admiral Cade stood unmoving, eyes locked on the tactical displays. He gave orders in calm, steady tones. Squadrons Alpha and Gamma, flank left. Carrier groups, unleash bombardment on their heavy cruisers. No survivors. Each command was followed by perfect execution. His. Officers did not question him. They did not hesitate. They followed, as if the entire fleet shared one mind. And as the battle raged, a message echoed from human ships, broadcast across every channel. "You sent an SOS. Humanity answers. The price of mercy is fire." The galaxy shuddered. The core empire's admiral fought to keep his forces together. His ships fired volley after volley, but for every human fighter they destroyed, 10 more replaced it. For every drone cluster they scattered, a new swarm appeared. His voice cracked as he shouted, pull back to the outer rim." But it was too late. Human destroyers cut through his retreat. Heavy carriers unleashed bombardments that ripped entire formations apart. One by one, core warships fell silent until only burning wreckage remained. Finally, his own flagship groaned as its core was pierced by a railgun slug. In his last moment, the admiral's screen filled with the cold, impassive visor of a human commander. No words, no emotion. Only death. The flagship split apart, its explosion lighting the battlefield like a second sun. On Rinner, the people erupted into cheers. The Empire was broken, their mighty fleet shattered. The humans had done what no one else dared. They had destroyed the slavers. But beneath the joy, a new fear stirred. The Renorians realized the truth. This was not just a rescue. This was something bigger. The humans had not come only to protect. They had come to make a statement to the galaxy. That statement was written in fire. Reports, spread at light speed across the stars. Entire core fleets erased in hours. Human warships moving with impossible precision. Planets under core rule trembling as rumors whispered, "The Deathworlders are coming." The council chambers filled with panic. Some called for unity against Earth. Others begged to surrender. Before it was too late. But all agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed. The humans were no longer silent. They had unleashed their fleet, and nothing could stop them now. Asterisk. The enemy breaks. The core empire had ruled through fear for centuries. Their fleets crushed rebellions. Their armies enslaved worlds. Their name alone silenced resistance. But fear is a fragile crown. And now, under the fire of humanity, it cracked. Fall of fleets in the Rinner system. The last core ships tried to regroup. Their commanders shouted desperate orders, voices breaking across comms. Hold formation. Protect the carriers. Stand your ground. But their words were drowned by screams as human weapons tore through their lines. Railguns punched holes straight through armored hulls. Drone swarms drilled into engines until ships erupted into fire. Human fighters sliced through formations. Like blades through silk, one core captain begged his crew, "Fight harder. They bleed like us." But his crew no longer believed it. They had seen entire cruisers vanish under a single human strike. They had watched men and women in black armor walk through storms of plasma without slowing. The truth was clear. The humans did bleed. But it did not matter, because they never stopped. The collapse of worlds far beyond Rinner, the news spread faster than light. In core-controlled systems, slaves whispered in chains, "The Deathworlders have come." Rebel leaders emerged from hiding. Small fleets once too afraid to fight suddenly rose. Even planets that had surrendered long ago began to rebel. Everywhere, the core empire cracked. Governors begged for reinforcements, but reinforcements never came. Human fleets were already spreading, moving through jump lanes like predators hunting prey. Wherever the core tried to resist, they were met with silence, then fire. The Emperor's rage in the Golden Throne Hall of Core Prime, the Emperor himself. Raged, his claws tore the arms of his throne as reports flooded in. Entire fleets destroyed. Rinner lost. Rebellions on the outer colonies. Lies. The Emperor roared. His voice shook the hall. No army can defeat us. They are only humans, but his advisors bowed their heads. None dared remind him that humans were not. Only anything. They were Deathworlders, the name that made the galaxy tremble. And now, the Emperor's empire was breaking apart under their shadow. Humanity's broadcast on Rinner. The people gathered in the ruins of their capital as human. Banners flickered across holoscreens. The face of Admiral Cade appeared, his eyes cold, his voice sharp as steel. People of Rinner, he said, your SOS was heard. Humanity has answered. The crowd erupted into cheers, tears streaming down faces. Families embraced, believing. They were finally safe. But then his voice grew harder. To the core empire, he continued, hear this. There will be no mercy for slavers. Your fleets will burn. Your chains will shatter. And your name will be erased from the stars. The galaxy heard the same message, carried across every channel. Some celebrated. Others trembled. Because it was not a promise, it was a death sentence. The surrender in the outer belt. A small core fleet tried to flee. Their admiral stared at the burning wrecks of his allies, his pride crumbling. Finally, with shaking hands, he opened a channel. This is Admiral Veek of the Core. I surrender. His voice cracked with humiliation. Please, spare my crew. On the human command deck, silence followed. Then Admiral Cade spoke, his words colder than space itself. Slavers deserve no mercy. The channel cut. A moment later, the core fleet was gone, consumed in fire. Fear and victory on Rinner, the survivors celebrated their freedom. They sang in the streets, throwing flowers as human soldiers marched past. Children reached out to touch the black-armored. Warriors who had saved them. But not all hearts were filled with joy. One elder whispered to his friend, we begged for their help, and they answered. But what if they decide we are not worth keeping? His friend shivered. Then humans will leave us as they leave everything else burning. The crowd's cheers rang louder, but the whispers of fear did not fade, that the empire shatters within. Weeks, the great core empire, once unshakable, began to collapse. Outlying colonies declared independence. Slave worlds rebelled and overthrew their masters. Entire core fleets vanished under human guns. The name that once ruled the stars was now spoken only with dread dot and in its place. A new name rose louder. With every passing day, Deathworlders. The final warning on Rinner's last day of occupation, the human fleet prepared to move again. Families wept as the massive carriers rose into the skies. Blotting out the sun's dot before leaving, Admiral Cade broadcast one final message to the galaxy. We do not seek empires. We do not seek thrones. But when you call for help, know this. Humanity does not forgive, and we do not forget. The galaxy held its breath, because they all understood the truth. The enemy had broken, but the humans were only beginning. Asterisk. Fire on the throne world. The core empire's throne world had never known. Fear dot its golden spires pierced the clouds. Its shields glowed with unbroken strength, and its fleets circled the skies like a wall of iron. For centuries, it had stood untouchable, the heart of tyranny dot, But on that day, the sky darkened. The humans had arrived. The arrival at first, the people of Core Prime thought it was an eclipse. The sun dimmed, shadows stretched across the cities, and the air seemed to grow heavy dot. Then they looked up and terror filled their hearts. The heavens were covered with ships. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Human carriers, battleships, destroyers, and drones filled the skies until no star could be seen. They moved as one, silent and unstoppable, a wall of black steel that blotted out the light. Whispers spread through the streets. The Deathworlders are here. They've come for us. No shield can stop them. The Emperor's last stand in the throne hall. The Emperor stood tall, his golden armor shining in the firelight of massive braziers. His generals knelt before him, trembling. Rise. Cowards, the Emperor roared. Activate the planetary shields. Fire every weapon. Humanity will break against core steel. The shields lit the skies, shimmering domes of energy that had held for generations. Orbital cannons rose from the ground, spitting plasma into the void. Entire fleets launched from the docks, swarming upward like silver fish against a black tide. For a heartbeat, the people believed their Emperor. For a heartbeat, they believed Core Prime could hold. Then the first human shot struck, the breaking of shields, a single railgun slug, fired from a distance so vast no core ship could even track it, slammed into the shield dome. The ground quaked. Towers cracked. Lightning raced across the barrier. The shield held for 1 second, 2, 3. Then it shattered. The skies exploded in blue fire as the shield dome collapsed. Pieces of burning energy rained down, crashing into palaces, into markets, into the streets. The people screamed as their eternal protection dissolved before their eyes. And above, the human fleet advanced, weapons glowing with cold fire. The battle of Skiscore fleets rose in desperation. Thousands of warships hurled themselves into the storm. They fired plasma beams, missile swarms, and energy cannons, but the humans answered with precision. Railguns shredded battlecruisers into dust. Drone swarms covered enemy carriers, tearing them apart piece by piece. Fighters weaved through enemy formations, cutting them apart with ruthless speed. From the ground, the people of Core Prime watched as their mighty defenders died in seconds. What they had been told was unbreakable was breaking all around them. Fire from the heavens when the skies were clear. The bombardment began. Human carriers unleashed endless fire. Orbital strikes fell like spears of light, ripping through fortresses, silencing cannons and leveling barracks. The golden palaces of the core cracked open, their marble towers collapsing in clouds of dust. The statue of the first emperor, a monument that had stood for 1,000 years, shattered under a railgun slug, its head rolling into the streets. The people of Core screamed in terror. Some tried to fight, others tried to hide, but it did not matter. The fire was everywhere. The throne burns in the throne hall. The emperor refused to bow. His golden armor gleamed as the walls shook around him. He opened a com, broadcasting across the system. His face filled screens across the galaxy. His voice thundered with rage. You think you are strong, Deathworlders. You think you can break. Core, we will. His words ended in fire. A railgun strike tore through the palace, obliterating the throne. The Emperor's image flickered once, then vanished. The people of the galaxy stared in silence. The voice of Core was gone. The silence after fire when the bombardment ended. Nothing was left of the throne world's pride. The spires lay in ruins. The fleets were gone. The Emperor was ash. All that remained was silence. Human ships hovered. Above, their weapons still glowing, their shadows still covering the broken world. They did not speak. They did not celebrate. They only watched, like hunters ensuring the prey was dead. On Core Prime, Survivors whispered in the dust. The throne is gone. The Emperor is dead. The Deathworlders have ended us. The galaxy watches. Every world across the galaxy saw the same images. Core Prime in flames. Human warships blotting out the stars. The message was clear. The empire that once enslaved the stars had been burned in a single strike. Humanity had destroyed it not with treaties, not with politics, but with fire. And now the galaxy understood. No throne was safe, because when the Deathworlders moved, they did not stop until nothing remained. Asterisk. Humanity's warning. The throne world of Core Prime lay in ruins. Its golden spires were dust. Its fleets were ash. Its emperor nothing more than a memory burned away in fire. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. No empire had ever fallen so fast. No throne had ever been so thoroughly destroyed. And the ones who had done it, the Deathworlders, still hovered above the broken world, their vast fleet black against the dimmed stars. But now came the question every being in the galaxy whispered. What will humanity do next? The broadcast in the command deck of the Iron Will, Admiral Cade stood tall. His officers waited, silent, as he gave the order that would echo across every world. Prepare transmission. All channels, all systems. A moment later, every screen in the galaxy lit up. From the smallest trader ship to the greatest council chamber, the same image appeared. The face of a human, shadowed and cold, with the burning wreckage of Core Prime behind him. This is Admiral Cade of Earth, his voice thundered. Hear humanity's words. The galaxy held its breath. You sent an SOS, Cade continued. And we answered. But let it be known. Humanity does not come as servants. We do not come as allies. We come as Deathworlders, and we do not forgive. The words cut deeper than any weapon. The message to tyrants, to every empire that rules with chains, hear this, Cade said. His eyes were hard as iron. We will not stand by while slavers prosper. We will not ignore cries for help. And we will never negotiate with those who build their power on suffering. He leaned closer to the camera. His voice lowered colder. Send one SOS, and our fleet will answer. But understand the price. Your enemies will burn, and so will you, if you are guilty. Across the stars, leaders trembled. Some clutched their thrones tighter, fearing the gaze of humanity. Others lowered their heads, knowing their time was ending. The words to the weak, but Cade was not finished. To the broken, to the lost, to those who suffer under empires like Core, he said, his voice softening. Know this, if you call, we will hear. If you beg for help, we will come. His eyes turned sharp again. But never mistake our mercy for weakness. Humanity's mercy is fire. We bring survival. We bring freedom. But we also bring war. The broadcast ended, the aftermath on. Rinner, survivors wept as the message played in the streets. Children held hands and shouted the word Deathworlders with joy, believing it now meant salvation. But their elders watched the skies with fear. They had seen the fire. They knew what it meant. Humanity had saved them. But humanity had also shown the galaxy what they truly were. Predators unleashed. A silent fleet above Core Prime. The human ships began to turn. Slowly, silently, a shifted formation, preparing to leave. No treasure was taken. No worlds were claimed. No empire was built in their name. They came. They destroyed. They left. The galaxy had no words for such power. Empires ruled to expand. Kings fought for glory. But humanity fought for something darker, something older. They fought to survive, and in doing so, they made sure no enemy would ever rise again. The child's question on Rinner. As families gathered in the ruined streets, a small child tugged on her father's arm. She had watched the giant human ships rise into the heavens. "Father," she asked, her voice small, "what happens if one day the humans are the ones who send an SOS?" The father froze. He had no answer. Around him, others fell silent, staring up at the black shapes vanishing into the stars. The question lingered like a shadow, because if the galaxy feared what humanity did when answering a call, what would happen if humanity ever called for help themselves? Humanity's warning, as the last ship of the human fleet slipped into the void. A single transmission echoed one final time. "We are Deathworlders. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we are watching." The stars grew quiet again. But the galaxy would never be the same dot, because from that day forward, every ruler, every soldier, every child who looked up at the night sky would remember the warning, and they would whisper, with awe and fear alike, "The Deathworlders are coming."